Hello and welcome to our program, Where God Weeps, a program where we talk about the situation of the suffering church around the world. Today we're going to be talking about the country of Sierra Leone, a country on Africa's west coast with a population of about 4 million, a country rich in gold, bauxite and other minerals, and yet a country which is just now reconstructing, finding its way out of a civil war that lasted for over a decade, ending only in 2002. To tell us more about this reconciliation process, this reconstruction process, it is my very great privilege to welcome the Bishop of the Diocese of Bau, His Excellency, Bishop Charles Campbell. Your Excellency, thank you for being with us here today in our program.
I'm happy to be here, thank you.
Your Excellency, a little bit to yourself. You grew up in a Muslim family. You became a Christian at a young age. Can you tell us a little bit what happened? When did you first experience God? And if you will, what was the reaction of your Muslim parents to their son wanting to become a Christian?
As a young boy growing up, I was following my father as a Muslim. I started observing the Ramadan, keeping the fast, and trying to be a good Muslim boy. But then when I entered secondary school, a school built by the Holy Ghost fathers in Jala, and it was manned by them, the principal and the teachers, most of them were Holy Ghost fathers and seminarians. I felt, the witness of their own lives and their relationship with us, the younger pupils, who were also intelligent. They encouraged me a lot. It was a mixed school, boys and girls. But I felt like becoming like one of them. I said, you cannot be one of us except you become a Christian. So then we had to approach my father.
Oh, yeah.
I was afraid of my father.
How old were you at the time?
About 13 years, in Form 2, secondary school Form 2. Because I entered at 12 and then, about 12, 13. So one evening, I came with this Irish prefect and a Sierra Leonean seminarian. He didn't make it to the priesthood. So we came to my father and I stood behind the veranda and he was lying in his hammock and they came, "Pa Charles, we have come to greet you." "Oh, welcome," and everything. "We want to ask your permission for Allieu to be baptized. He wants to join the catechumenate." "Okay, that's why we have put them to school, so it's all right, whatever he wants. The only thing I want him to pray."
How many of your brothers and sisters, you are one of how many, and how many then followed you into the Christian faith?
Yes, well, we were 7, 4 boys and 3 girls. And then my younger, the one immediately after me died a couple of years ago. But then the other 3 sisters, 2 of my younger sisters are Catholics now. And then our last brother, Michael, has also become a Catholic. But my elder sister and one of the younger brothers are still Muslims, including my mother. My mother is a Muslim.
But they are, from the example of your father, a prayerful family. You are a prayerful family.
Yes, committed to Islam. They do the daily prayers. My mother does, at least when I go to the village. There's a mosque in our campus. My grandfather built the mosque. So she goes to pray at all the hours.
And there was no resentment either from the village or from your family to the fact that you wanted to become a Christian?
No, not explicitly. In fact, there was none, I can say, because first of all, they never understood in a way. My father did not understand what it was to be a priest, a celibate priest, for example.
Well, that would be my next question, because it was
Okay.
one thing to become a Christian,
priest,
but
yeah,
another
but
thing to become
be
a priest.
A priest, yes. He wanted his grandchildren and all that. But I said, well, no, this way of life is different. It's me, and I'm giving my whole life to the church, and that is it. But, you know.
In the end, he was able to accept.
Yes, and he brought me to the altar on the day of my ordination in 1986, on the 9th of April. Himself and my mother brought me up to the altar. Sadly, he died 2 years after that, but he had no other problem.
You were baptized Charles,
Yes.
and you chose the name after the Ugandan martyr, St. Charles Luanga.
Luanga, yes, that's right.
Why did you choose particularly this martyred saint? Is there a significance that you wanted to communicate through the choice of this name?
At the beginning of June, that was on the 3rd of June, it was only later in hindsight that I can piece the information together. The vocations director was an Irishman. He died years back. He played us a film. It was the projector, you know, those days.
Yeah.
He played us this film of the Uganda martyrs. And he explained to us, you know, how they sacrificed themselves for the faith. And this Charles Luanga was the leader of that group and all that, you know. And Kizito was the youngest and all that. And this, we saw them, and it moved me. My father was Charles, but I didn't choose Charles because of my father. But I chose Charles because of Charles Luanga that I had seen. We were baptized later that month, around the 29th of June, which could have really been, again, Peter and Paul. I could have taken one of maybe Paul particularly, but I didn't know that. But it was Charles Luanga that struck me.
Does this have particular significance for you, if I can ask it in this way? Martyrdom, now you have been asked to be a bishop, and the bishop is the servant of the servants, if you will. Do you also understand your vocation in terms of this context?
Of course. Through the seminar we are having here, a lot is entrusted to the bishop. And one thing that one of the cardinals said this morning is to prepare a will. And he says he would not understand a bishop who would not prepare a will to relinquish everything to his diocese. So because this is who you are now, as it were, married to the church, to the diocese, and it will be a good example, like whatever you may have, to give that over to the church after your demise. And perhaps not maybe to your close blood relatives. That's a different message, like, you know. That struck me.
Was it a shock for you when you received the call?
Oh, a huge shock. A huge shock.
Did you want to run away from it?
Unfortunately, yes. Nuncio said it has pleased the Holy Father to create Bo as a diocese. I said, thank God. So we have been all waiting for that. People have prayed for it. We have, so we are happy. But, a diocese cannot exist without a bishop. That's also okay. And our Holy Father, as I pointed, I said, no, Your Excellency, certainly not me, And I said, so it's difficult, I don't know what you are talking about. I think it's a mistake or something. Anyway, then eventually he said, well.
And then you accepted?
Yes, he talked to me and so on, and I said, okay.
Your Excellency, I want to come back to the question of martyrdom, because your martyrdom, the martyrdom of Sierra Leone as a country, of course, as a young man, you grew up, you experienced the civil war in Sierra Leone. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just ask you a little bit about your personal experiences during the war, how it affected you personally. Because it was a martyrdom of the country, and in many ways still is today, as the country seeks to find its way out of the war and all the consequences.
Trying to rebuild and all that,
What was your personal experience of the war? How did it affect you personally?
I was in a parish in Dambala, close to Bo, just 12 miles out of Bo. I had come from my studies in Nigeria. There's a Catholic Institute of West Africa, Port Harcourt. So the bishop, now emeritus Archbishop Ganda, posted me there, and I was there and walking. Then the war started, and then people were flocking to that village, coming towards Bo. And so I got some assistance from our Caritas office, to help with, I register them and then give them some oil, some bulgur, some beans, which I could lay hands on,
to give to people.
To give to the people, until that village was attacked. So I ran away where I was working. So we went into Bo, and they said they killed many people. Later I came, I cried because I was in the, for 2 years I was in the village. So I felt part of them.
These people were your family?
No.
I mean, in a sense of your Christian
family, and also those I've been working with and for.
Was there one story that touched you deeply? That was one person or one situation that, if you will, encapsulated the evil that was being lived in the country at that time?
That very day, or one of those days when we came to Bo, we were there for a while, and Bo was also attacked by rebels, the very Bo city itself. So I was in the mission. I was very frightened to go out. And they said, it was just summary execution. They said they caught somebody who was a rebel, so-called rebel, and he was immediately killed and dismembered. And they were passing around with different parts of the body. And I saw that and I felt so bad.
So ill.
And that was, yes, terrible. From Bo, then I was transferred to go to the seminary. So the parish was closed because, and the bishop said, well, since the expatriates had left the seminary, so we should go to the seminary. And I was trained for that, so I joined the staff in McKinney.
How do you not lose your faith when there's such a cry of inhumanity? How can God allow something like this to happen?
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. How I managed, and perhaps our people generally, is difficult to say. Only that the expression they use, the English word, is that they are very resilient. How they can go right down and then just come back, I don't know, without trauma, healing and all that. Well, now we have these institutions coming, like even the sisters in Bo have a Peace and Counseling Center, the Holy Rosary Sisters. But how people came back, it's traumatic. We had chance, I had chance to come to UK in Kent, and I was able to process my own trauma and all that. But how we have survived it, I really cannot say. But it was terrible. I think I even got my hypertension during that war. I was dean of students in the seminary in McKinney. But then I was afraid for the students and afraid for myself. And I couldn't sleep. I had to prepare my lectures. I was part of the administrative staff of the seminary, the major seminary, and I developed the hypertension. Before we were even attacked, the seminary was still attacked again, and we ran into the bush and things like that. So I don't know.
Was the church also a target?
The church was attacked. When I was in Dambala, the village near Bo, close to about 12 miles from where I said, it was in Dambala that we heard of the killing, the murder of the first religious, a priest from Ireland, Father Feli McAllister. He was killed in Panguma, plus a doctor, his wife and his child. I think he was from Netherlands or something. Dr. Elko was the name. Yeah, Dr. Elko and his family, their little child Zita. They were murdered there in Panguma. And later a Christian brother also met his death along the Freetown Highway. He was also, they fell in an ambush and he was shot. He died. A lot of our churches,
churches were destroyed, orphanages were burned,
schools, our hospitals.
Was it a particular target, the church, because it represented, if you will, another authority within the country, and that had to be pulled down?
There was not so much any sense in a way why these guys wanted. It's difficult to still understand their philosophy, why they did what they did. The viciousness of what they were doing, the evil that was behind it. Because the church was helpful to them, but it was difficult to understand. they were against everything. I mean, like they burnt the books, burnt the chairs, the desks from the schools, burned the buildings, and there was no particular order, you know. And the church was very helpful too. Even during that time, the church was still helping people, you know. But they really distressed the church, and as I say, members of the church were targeted. The Archbishop Emeritus now was taken for about 2 weeks in Freetown, Bishop Ganda.
Yes.
He was taken for about 2 weeks. He was abducted. And then during that time again, 4 of Mother Teresa's sisters were killed in Freetown.
How do you reconcile? How do you bring reconciliation to a situation, a civil war where neighbor fought neighbor, village fought village, where the, if you will, the intimacy of the war was so close? How do you bring reconciliation? How do you find you speak about the people being able to rebound back, but how do you heal now on the hearts and bring reconciliation to these former enemies?
Well, a lot has been done. Like it's not new now. Like, you know, a lot has been done, and people have really come back, you know, and working together. Even the RUF, Revolutionary United Front rebels then, they have been allowed to form their own party, and they call it RUFP, Revolutionary United Front Party. I know they may not have any following, but like they have been allowed
to become a political group.
To become a political group, at least to allow them that. So I think we continue to preach reconciliation, peace, but based on justice as well. And well, people are happy that like those who bear the greatest burden of the responsibility for the war we are taking, especially Charles Taylor, who has been recently sentenced.
That's right.
Australians are very happy about that.
That gives a sign of hope.
A sign, yes. So at least because what the general group of people believe is that a lot of those youths who were taken really did things not responsibly, because they were coerced,
or they were drugged.
They were drugged, you know, and forced, you know, enticed by other things, money and things, you know, to do what they did. But there were others, you know, behind them.
Who bear that responsibility.
Yes, so that is the point. So basically, people are living peacefully, really. It is difficult, but I think it's okay. We can drive at night. You can go everywhere. People are like, you know, have started coming back.
Basically, Sierra Leoneans are good-hearted, warm, welcoming, hospitable peaceful people.
Yes.
The church has been growing, which is another sign of hope, if you will. People are coming back to the faith. To what would you attribute this new growth, if you will, in the Catholic faith?
That was a question that set me thinking. I believe it's perhaps the witness of the Christians, because we are a small group. And as you rightly say, the Muslims are about 60%, maybe Christians about 15%, but we are even a little smaller, but we are a force to reckon with. And I think it's because of what I think we offer and a witness, I believe, because there are also young people who are coming, you know, very young people who are also joining the church. And, you know, I feel there's a group in the cathedral parish, you know, a charismatic group. They had no priest to follow them when I came to Bo. So, you know, I said, no, the priest who was with us left, you know, he was a religious priest and so on. I said, no. I said, you cannot go on your own. I will look for a priest to accompany you, so that when you have your vigils, there's a priest. And they were happy, but they were just young people on their own.
So if I might just summarize, the faith, the growth of the faith is principally among the young people then?
There's a lot of young people.
A lot of young people.
Yeah.
With the growth of the faith, of course, there are challenges, there are needs. The church, as you mentioned, was deeply damaged, and many buildings were destroyed, and schools and so on. What would you say is the greatest need that you would have now, perhaps in your diocese or in Sierra Leone generally?
Well, generally it is rebuilding the old structures, the structures that have been destroyed and all that. But maybe over and above that is to really get those who will work within those structures, perhaps like the pastoral agents, you know, like I know for sure in the Archdiocese of Freetown and Bo then, even now in the Archdiocese of Freetown and then my diocese in Bo, the greatest need I have is, you know, to really help my brothers in the pastoral field to be able to support them.
Are you looking for missionaries from outside, or are you looking to build the community of local vocations, or both?
Both.
So you are calling for missionaries?
Yes. During this month, I hope before I go back now, or at least this month, September, the Salesians are going to the diocese. And the preparation was there before, but like we tried to, we had to speed it up a bit, you know, now that I am there. So they are coming to actually also be part of it. The Holy Ghost are there already. But like the priests, as I say, come back to that, they need a lot of support in order to do the work. Some are living in very difficult circumstances. I've worked in most of the parishes when I was as a student and from the seminary. So some are living in very difficult circumstances. For example, so we need...
No, you wouldn't have, I mean, just to understand what that means, difficult circumstances, would they have a church, or would they have a place to live, or would they be celebrating in a mud hut? What do we understand by difficult circumstances?
Yeah. Some churches maybe have no roof, you know, and they cannot raise money from the community to re-roof it. You know, some in their houses, maybe some have been where there are bullet holes, so they are in the rains they will be leaking and all that sort of thing. And some of the villages where they had mud thatch huts for their churches, some collapsed and things like that. Some were burnt.
Okay.
You know, so things like that is difficult. And also the sustenance. I cut off the subsidy I was given, that we were giving priests. After my ordination, we continue up to the end of the year, from May last year to December. We managed, but it was difficult. After that, I talked to my brothers. I said, well, look, we have to manage with whatever we have. And it wasn't much. It wasn't even up to $100 that we give to each priest for his own upkeep, for his food, for movement and all that.
No, but I understand if you've had to cut this, what do the priests live on?
That's the point. They live on collections that come from the people, which is very meager. They themselves are poor. Some of the priests are teaching.
Just to earn a little bit of income.
A little bit of income. But I really feel very bad about this. I have had the opportunity to talk on our local radio. We had a pilgrimage one time, and I was just called upon on the spot, and I felt it, and I thought that was an opportunity to thank them, because they really are in those difficult circumstances. Some are on motorbikes, some nothing at all. They join public transport, and there's not much we can do now. You know, so that's one of my... Everything
has to be built from the ground up?
Well, some areas had to really be rebuilt, you know. As I said, the pastoral agents, as for the priests, the seminarians, the same thing, like we have to, like the upkeep of the seminarians in the major seminary is quite expensive. You know, as a new diocese, I have to start paying. We have 8 seminarians, and I couldn't pay for all of them last year. I could only pay about maybe 30% of what they asked for.
So you have priestly vocations you have to encourage through the seminarians. Yes. You have no money. Yes. You need to build the churches that have no roofs, re-roof the churches.
Yes, that's correct.
Religious sisters, I suppose.
Religious sisters. We have a local congregation that the Archbishop Emeritus founded, OLV. They are young people, and they are training, like, you know, so they need a lot of help.
And finally, the catechists.
The catechists who are in the villages, who help us where we cannot go, and we have to train them as well.
Do you feel overwhelmed by all of these?
I do. I have sleepless nights. At times, my sleeping habit changes, like, you know, and so on. It's a bit... Initially, it was difficult. I could get up at night If I have something and then I just write down something just so that I won't forget, But sometimes it's overwhelming.
This is the martyrdom to which you have been called.
Thank you for reminding me. That's exactly it. But I am not discouraged, because I think the Lord is
He's working with you.
Exactly. And that is my trust.
Your Excellency, thank you for having been with us today in our program.
I'm happy to have been here with you. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for having been with us today on our program. And if you would like to know more about the situation of Catholics in Sierra Leone, or perhaps how you might be able to help His Excellency Bishop Campbell with his project, I would encourage you to look at the contact information at the end of this program. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.